There is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world, and that's why I am on the trail of the Nephilim.
The Genesis 6 narrative states that the Nephilim are on the earth in those days and also afterwards. If that's true, can we find evidence that corroborates this? I'm L.A. Marzulli. Join me as we go on the trail of the Nephilim.
Hey folks, I'm your intrepid host, L.A. Marzulli. Welcome to On the Trail of a Nephilim. I just want to thank John Lamore, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but he sent me this wonderful little clip from a book called An Autobiography of Buffalo Bill, Colonel W. F. Cody. And I think you'll find this really interesting because the written accounts are there from the 1900s into the 20th century. So we'll get into that, but first a word from our trusted sponsor. Excess belly fat has been deemed the most dangerous fat of them all as it's linked to so many health issues. The reason being excess belly fat grows deep in the abdominal cavity and puts pressure on some of the body's most vital organs. That's one of the reasons why myself, along with so many people, are beginning to turn to this amazing new substance, which is thoughtfully formulated with science-backed ingredients that promote reduced fat storage, help to speed up the breakdown of fat, support weight management, reduce cravings, and boost metabolism. Folks, the best part I love is that you can get 51% off for the rest of the month or until they sell out, whichever comes first. Get yours now by going to trimwithla.com. Once again, that's trimwithla.com. Trimwithla.com. I'm going to give this 30 days. I'll report back to you and we'll see what it does. I want to thank John Lamore for sending me this, and he writes, I just finished watching On the Trail of a Nephilim, episode 194, entitled Giants Found. I thought you might find this interesting. There was another reference to giants from an autobiography of Buffalo Bill Cody. This is really cool, folks. So I'm going to read it right here. And what he did is he searched the text for the word thigh, and this is what came up. While we were in the Sandhills scouting the Niobrara County, the Pawnee Indians brought into camp some very large bones, one of which the surgeon of the expedition pronounced to be the thigh bone of a human being. The Indians said that these bones were those of a race of people who long ago had lived in that country. They said these people were 3 times the size of a man of the present day. So let's say, you know, a Native American's like 5 foot 6 inches, whatever. So you're looking at basically 14 feet, 12 to 14 feet. I mean, that's really, really big. Big, huge Nephilim. Look, I'm not making this stuff up. We know that it's there, but everything has been swept away. Let's continue. I just love these. I just love these stories. The Indians said the bones were those of a race of people who long ago had lived in that country. They said these people were 3 times the size of a man of the present day, that they were so swift and strong that they could run by the side of a buffalo and, taking the animal in one arm, could tear off a leg and eat it as they ran. Now that's, I mean, you hear these stories. There's actually someone put up a JPEG of that. Some artist drew it based on this oral tradition from Native Americans. We've heard this before. We've heard this before. So why would the Native Americans just sort of invent this out of nowhere, that there's a race of giants? Why is it that every tribe from the East Coast to the West Coast, including the Chumash out here, have stories about 9, 10, 12 footers? Let's continue. These giants, said the Indians, denied the existence of a great spirit. When they heard the thunder or saw the lightning, they laughed and declared that they were greater than either of those. This so displeased the Great Spirit that he caused the deluge. Stop right there. Why is it that in every single culture across the globe, there are stories of a great flood? Because it's true. Because the biblical prophetic narrative, what we have in our Bibles, is absolutely true. It is the Word of God. There was a deluge. Why did the deluge occur? I'm glad you asked. Because of the Nephilim. And I've talked about this before. Let me get a stirrup here. But I'll state it again here because it's absolutely relevant to the story. These giants said the Indians denied the existence of a great spirit. This so displeased the great spirit that he caused a deluge. The water rose higher and higher, till it drove these proud giants from the low ground to the hills and then to the mountains. At last, even the mountaintops were submerged, and the mammoth men were drowned. So let's stop right there. I want to get into this. So, and a lot of you have heard me talk about this, but I've got to get into this again because I think it's relevant, and it's also a personal testimony. So 43 years ago, I become a Christian. I am living with a woman outside of marriage. She leaves very abruptly, several days after I come across the line, as it were. She wants nothing of this, and she takes all the furniture with her. So I've talked about this before. I come home that night from work. I open the door. The entire place is cleaned out. There's no bed. There's nothing. It was all her furniture. Because my piano was still there. So my piano and some of my stuff was there. My dresser with my clothes, that was there, but the bed was gone. And everything else, the table and chairs, but who cares? So I slept that night. I made some makeshift something and slept. And the next day, the Lord blessed me with a used mattress, and I had a pickup truck back then, and I dragged it up here, and I was good to go. But I'm reading the Bible on my chair, which was still there. She didn't take that, in the corner. And I remember reading about the flood and getting to the flood story because it's only a few chapters into the Bible. So I would read a couple of chapters from the Old Testament and then a couple of chapters from the New Testament, kind of balancing things out. And in my young Christian mind at the time, I'm going, there seems to be a disparity between Jesus and this God of the Old Testament here. This guy over here seems to be malevolent, capricious, genocidal. It's like, oh my gosh, Jesus is who Jesus is. Love, just always embracing people. Not always, but granted, he drives out the money changers. Okay, I get that. But for the most part, Jesus seemed to me at least to be completely different from this wrathful, vengeful, maniacal God of the Old Testament. So then I get to the flood and it's like, what's so bad? Why did he destroy the earth? And then, of course, you turn over a few pages. Why does he confuse the language at the Tower of Babel? And then further on in, what's going on with Abraham and the four kings? A little further on, why does he destroy Sodom and Gomorrah? And then finally, when I'm getting up to the conquest of Canaan, it's like, whoa, that's genocide. I had a real problem with things until I found Dr. I.D.E. Thomas's book. Let me see if I can pull it up here, folks. It should be right in here. Yeah, there it is. I always keep it on my desk, so it's really handy. So, the Omega Conspiracy. And I got to write the foreword for this. Dr. Thomas Horn republished Dr. Thomas's book, and yours truly got to write the foreword to this, which was just incredible. And you can see my name right there. So I got to write the foreword to it, which was absolutely a real honor. But here's the deal. This book here, and if you don't have it, you can get it. We do carry it in our bookstores. But this book, The Omega Conspiracy, changed my life, completely changed my life. Because for 10 years, from 43 years ago when I'm a new Christian, living in my skeleton of an apartment here on the land. I still am on the land. We later purchased the land, so I've been here since 1978. This is home. But all that burned in the fire. Boy, a lot of rabbit trails, LA. But I digress. So I find out about Dr. Thomas's book 10 years after I'm a Christian. Now, I've gone to my pastor, I've gone to people and asked about this. I can't get an answer. But the Omega Conspiracy gave me the answers I was looking for about the flood, about the judgment, about why God did what he did, about the seed war, about the commingling of the seed from Genesis 3:15, which manifests then in Genesis 6. Folks, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterward, when the sons of God took human women went into them, had children by them. These were the men of renown. It's in our Bibles. And if we don't understand Genesis 3:15, in my opinion, we don't understand the rest of the biblical prophetic narrative. So the reason why I'm saying this is because Native Americans talk about the flood. It's everywhere. You can go to Tibet. They've got a flood story. The Chumash Indians out here, they've got a flood story. The flood was real. Giants roamed the land before the flood and after the flood. Let's finish this up. After the flood subsided, the Great Spirit came to the conclusion that he had made men too large and powerful. He therefore corrected his mistake by creating a race of the size and strength of the men of the present day. This is the reason the Indians told us that the man of modern times is small and not like the giants of old. The story has been handed down among the Pawnee for generations, but what is its origin, no man can say. I just absolutely love stories like this because they're just so incredible because they point back to a hidden history. Folks, we've got this book, Further Evidence. It's now available in our store. You can go to lamarzulli.net. Along with that is, of course, number 8, Out of Place Artifacts. Out of Place Artifacts. So you check that out. Go to lamarzulli.net. I will be down in Texas the latter part of January. I know we're still in November, but we're not really going anywhere unless a church in Southern California would like me to speak about the ongoing UFO phenomenon. I will come to your church. Because it's Southern California, I'll come for a love offering. How's that grab you? But of course, we don't get an invite, but that's okay. It's all good. We go where the Lord tells us to go. I go where the door is open. And if there's no door open in Southern California, that's not my problem. But if you go to a church and you're in Southern California and you want me to speak at your church, okay, before the first of the year, I will come for free. I'll come for a love offering, whatever that might be, even if it's $1. This information needs to go out. This information about the burgeoning UFO phenomena needs to go out, but I digress. So I'll be down in Texas. Go to our website, lamarzulli.net, lamarzulli.net. Scroll down to speaking engagements. There it is. Hope to see you there. It's going to be great. Remember, folks, there is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world, and that's why I am on the trail of the NEPHILIM. Thanks for